Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. For today's video, we're going to be taking a quick look at the Transformers Rise of the Beasts, Energon Escaped, Optimus Prime, and Bumblebee 2-pack. Both of these figures are direct reissues of some original figures that we saw way back in the 2018 Bumblebee movie Igniters series, however are indeed incredibly intriguing, especially when it comes down to their looks in Rise of the Beasts. Despite this Optimus originally being released in 2018, his vehicle mode is a dead ringer for the alt mode that we shall see in the upcoming Transformers 7 film, and considering that Bumblebee towards the tail end of the 2018 movie did rescan into a 1977 Camaro, it would make sense that in the new film he will start off in this form and then of course will get jacked up into that super awesome off-road Camaro. Now we may as well kickstart the video off by taking a look here at the coolest out of the two in my opinion, that of course being Bumblebee. Now this is super awesome. This is the Camaro that we all know and love, especially those of us who are a fan of the Bayverse. You can see we've got some really nice details here where the front is concerned, metallic silver for the grille as well as for the bumper. We've got some of that wicked black striping detailing here for the hood as well as there for the rear of the vehicle. And just in regards to sculpt work for a gimmick inspired toy, I actually don't think this guy has turned out too bad whatsoever. Now the main gimmick for this was that you were to basically take this Energon spark igniter thing and peg it into the back, although you can indeed actually activate the gimmick by just taking your thumb here, pushing down on this section, and you can see how we can deploy some stealth weapons, of which actually don't look too bad. You can see once deployed, it does reveal some awesome looking sculpt work as well as some blue there for the actual cannons themselves. But as we just bring in this Energon igniter cube, basically you just want to stick this here into this section, and the clearance is quite minimal, so you will want to ensure that basically the yellow section is wedged in between this tiny little gap that we've got going on here, and then basically you just apply some pressure to this section, and with a bit of luck, Bumblebee should shoot off into action. It was actually one of the coolest gimmicks that personally I think has come out of any of the live-action Transformers movie lines. So definitely I'm glad to see them reissued here for Transformers Rise of the Beasts. Just to demonstrate that once more, we just push down on this section, and of course, Bumblebee will roll out into battle. So a really cool gimmick, incredibly simple, yet incredibly effective. And just to show you guys how this looks on its own, you can see some pretty nice sculpting and detailing, of course, completely cast out of transparent blue, which I think looks awesome. And inside, we can in fact actually see the cogs at work, which I've always thought was really, really awesome. Now, as we touch base here with Optimus Prime, this guy is by far the most interesting out of all of these Bumblebee movie reissues, in my opinion, as this figure does in fact actually sport the vehicle mode that we shall see in Transformers Rise of the Beast. Now, how Hasbro knew way back in 2018 that Prime would look like this in Transformers 7 is completely nuts. Honestly, I have no idea as to how that's worked out. Maybe he was originally intended to actually look like this towards the tail end of Bumblebee, and then for whatever reason, they decided to go with a more classic style of G1 cab. But nevertheless, as far as the details is concerned, this is actually really nicely done. You can see how we've got this awesome souped up grille, and the metallic paint actually does look really, really cool. We've got that classic G1 silver stripe going along the front of the vehicle as well as towards the side, the audible insignia slap bang there in the center. And for a gimmick inspired toy, I actually don't think the vehicle mode looks too bad whatsoever, and something of which I'm a huge fan of with these particular gimmick figures is that all of the wheels are indeed pinned on, and the same does go here for Bumblebee. So these do in fact actually roll along the ground with absolute ease. As you guys know, if you're a long time viewer of the channel, I would always choose to go with pinned on wheels than as opposed to, of course, mushroom pegs. But to bring back in this igniter cube and to showcase how it works here with Optimus Prime, much like Bumblebee, we can take the almost shin section of the legs of Prime, basically apply some pressure, and you can see how it will deploy some super awesome silver missiles from the actual gas cans on the side. So that is a really nice touch, and then we can just bring in this Energon igniter weapon, peg that in, make sure that the rear of the vehicle does stay tabbed in, and we can have Optimus Prime rolling out into battle. And he does in fact actually launch a little further when in comparison to Bumblebee's. Just to demonstrate that one more time, you can see Prime will shoot to quite a lengthy distance. So as mentioned previously, as far as gimmick toys are concerned, I actually think the gimmick works incredibly well where these two are concerned. Now, to bring out some size comparisons, here I have the other Transformers Rise of the Beasts Optimus Prime truck mode. Now, whether or not Prime will in fact actually sport two distinctive truck forms in the movie is of course yet to be seen. This one is the actual vehicle that we've seen rolling around on set, but we all know how these movies do heavily rely on CGI, so this could in fact actually be a complete CG based vehicle. I guess we'll just have to wait and see until the movie does eventually roll around, hopefully around about this time next year. But you can see definitely a substantial size difference. The newer style of truck that we're seeing here for Rise of the Beast Prime is a little smaller when in comparison to the standard flat nose truck. And just to show you guys how the 1977 Camaro Bumblebee does compare alongside his Studio Series counterpart, surprisingly the scale is pretty much identical, with anything the Energon Escape version being slightly bigger and chunkier. But as mentioned previously, for a gimmick-based toy, I actually think the details are super nicely done. Now, turning to transformation from vehicle into robot mode, as you guys would expect from more gimmick-based inspired toys, they're incredibly simplistic, however super fun. So to begin with, we'll kickstart off with Bumblebee. Personally, I like to take this section and just flip those out. We can then come here to the underside, fold out what will become the shins of the legs, and of course repeat the same process. We can then take these wheels, split those out, fold this section down, come here to the base, flip out the heel spurs, and there we have our Rise of the Beast 1977 Camaro style B fully transformed up into robot mode. And despite the articulation and transformation being incredibly simplistic, I actually don't think the detail nor the paint is too bad at all. As we just bring him in here for a closer look, you can see that head sculpt looks fantastic. Of course, will no doubt be incredibly inaccurate to what we actually eventually see in Transformers 7, as the face sculpt for B is a little more simplistic when in comparison here to how he basically appeared in the Michael Bay movies, but still very nicely painted. You can see for the front grille, some nice silver, even here for the torso section. I love all of that detail that we've got going on, and the same can also be said here for the forearms, and of course the shins. Sadly, no form of firepower, and these Energon Igniter cubes don't in fact actually have a role to play here within robot mode. I guess if you wanted to, you could have Bumblebee holding this, but sadly the grip isn't the greatest, and considering this is in fact actually quite hefty, it will more than likely actually cause the figure to topple forward. Now, in regards to articulation, we basically do just get elbow joints. That is literally the only range of motion that we get, and maybe a slight hinge joint out to the side where the hips are concerned. But other than that, it's basically just what it says on the tin, a gimmick inspired toy for the younger collector, but will no doubt tie us hardcore live action movie fans over until we get the eventual Studio Series release. Now, here for Optimus Prime, he's in fact actually quite complex himself, so you're going to want to flip here to the base, just fold out the heel spurs. What we can then proceed to do is take the shoulders, split those also, and just hinge the elbows around, snap that into place, come to this side, and of course repeat the exact same process, fold up this section, and then as we come here to the torso, flip this panel forward, flip out the head, and then we have the Rise of the Beast Optimus Prime fully transformed up into his robot mode. Now, sadly, despite the vehicle mode being a dead ringer for how Prime will appear in Transformers 7, the robot mode is incredibly inaccurate. If anything, it does harken back to the more traditional Michael Bay almost evasion mode style of Prime design, which personally I actually really like the look of. But in terms of accuracy, I imagine that this is going to be super off to the movie. And you can see as far as the head sculpt is concerned, he's not sporting the mouth guard, which I think going forward will definitely be the main look for Prime in the future live action movies. But still, the attention to detail for a gimmick-based figure actually isn't too bad at all. You can see some nice sculpt work here where the chest is concerned. We've got those truck doors hanging off to the side, as well as there for the windows. Some awesome sculpt work there for the actual shoulders and arms. Some nice metallic silver here for the hips. But other than that, as you guys would expect from these types of figures, it is definitely incredibly simplistic in terms of design, paint, and sculpt work. Now, as far as articulation is concerned, sadly, no form of swivel at the head. We merely do just get elbow joints, which can hinge up and down, rotate left to right due to transformation. I guess you could kind of call this a butterfly joint due to transformation, and the hips can merely just move out to the sides. Now, as far as some size comparisons are concerned here for robot mode, here we have both versions of the Rise of the Beast Optimus Prime that have been released so far from Hasbro, and in terms of movie accuracy, I'm going to give props here to this particular design. I think as far as a robot mode is concerned, this is more than likely kind of the look that we'll see in the movie. But not to take anything away from this, I think the truck mode of this looks absolutely fantastic, but you can see in terms of scale-wise, this more modern, updated look for Rise of the Beast Prime is slightly taller, and in fact actually slightly heavier, and does indeed actually have quite a few fair more joints packed into him than this particular design. But in regard to Bumblebee, at the time of this recording, I don't currently own the actual off-road version of Rise of the Beast B, so merely am able to just compare him alongside the Studio Series Generations B127, but much like vehicle mode, you can see scale-wise, he's definitely within that kind of deluxe class range, and if anything, is ever so slightly taller than our B127 if you do count the tip here of the vehicle mode. So overall, definitely not a bad size, but in terms of articulation, screen accuracy, of course, the generation figures are going to win absolutely hands down. So these figures are definitely intended for the younger collector when in comparison to us adult collectors. And for one final comparison, here we have both the Rise of the Beasts, Optimus Prime and Bumblebee, compared alongside Transformers 7 Optimus Primal. So you can see, much like that Prime comparison, the more newer style of gimmick-inspired toys are indeed going to be a little bigger when in comparison to what we saw from the 2018 Bumblebee movie. Now, very quickly showcasing transformation back from robot into truck form or vehicle form where Bumblebee is concerned. To begin with, you are going to want to take the heel spurs, just collapse those in. We can flip out this chest piece, fold in Prime's head, snap that there into place, and then just bring this section back, fold the shoulders all the way around, just like so. Come to this side, and of course, you guys guessed it, rinse and repeat. Snap that section in, and there we've got Rise of the Beast Prime fully transformed up into truck mode. And then as far as Bumblebee is concerned, you are just going to want to take these sections, snap them there into place, flip up the hood of the vehicle. We can then take the shin guards, fold those pieces up, and then take the arms, fold those in until they do snap there into place. Collapse these back panels in, and there we have Bumblebee transformed back into the 1977 Camaro. And so, some final thoughts for the Transformers Rise of the Beast, Energon Escape, Optimus Prime, and Bumblebee 2-pack. As mentioned previously, these figures are literally just straight up reissues of figures that we saw originally released way back in 2018 to coincide with the release of Transformers Bumblebee. So for those of you who already own those previous gimmick-inspired toys, then you're not getting anything new here with these guys, besides the additional Energon Igniter cube. I think as far as the vehicle modes are concerned, the gimmick-based figures, these look absolutely fantastic, especially in the case of Optimus Prime. I will forever wonder how Hasbro knew back in 2018 how Prime would look in the upcoming Transformers Rise of the Beast movie. I guess in a way it's just kind of a happy coincidence, but definitely a super awesome truck mode, and is in fact our first piece of official merchandise which does sport this new grille design for Optimus Prime. I think the truck mode looks great. Same can also be said for Bumblebee in terms of his vehicle mode. For a gimmick-based figure, the Camaro looks super accurate to how it actually appeared in the movie. As far as the gimmick is concerned, it's actually really fun. I do think as far as all of the live-action movie gimmick-based toys are concerned, the Energon Igniters were definitely really cool, and as far as the actual integration of the weapon went, it worked incredibly effective. It was super simplistic and resulted in a really fun action feature. As far as transformations go, as you guys would expect, very simplistic, but I think result in decent enough looking robot modes. Out of the two, overall, I'd say that Bumblebee is the strongest. I think the attention to detail, as well as the paint where his bot mode is concerned, is fantastic for the price point and kind of for the demographic that these figures are aiming for. Optimus Prime will no doubt be incredibly inaccurate to what we would eventually see in Transformers 7, just as his robot mode design is basically just the first 3 Michael Bay movie trilogy design. So for those of you who will be picking these up in order to kind of resemble what we shall eventually see on screen, I don't think robot mode is going to quite cut it, but for those who perhaps just want a vehicle mode to tie us over until the eventual release of perhaps more movie accurate gimmick based toys, or even of course the eventual Studio Series offering, then I don't think these two here will be too bad at all. I'd love to hear your thoughts down in the comment section below. What do you guys think of this Energon Escape 2-pack? Is it one that you guys will be personally adding to the collection? And of course, please feel free to let me know your theories down in the comment section below as to how Hasbro way back in 2018 knew how the actual truck mode for Prime would turn out in, of course, the upcoming 2023 Rise of the Beasts movie. I thank you guys all so much for watching, and until my next video, I'll see you then. Thanks for watching.